everyone, welcome to my home. Come on in, grab a cup of coffee. Let's chat about 3 books that can possibly change your life, give you a different perspective. And we're going to talk about, is poor a bad thing, or is living poor with the right attitude a good thing? So interestingly enough, I am exposed to a lot of people. I guess that's the best way to say it. I can go to an event at work and there'll be anywhere from 600 to 1,000 people a couple of times a month. So I speak to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people of every age and every background. And I love listening to people and listening to what they have to say and their perspective on things. I don't always agree with it, you know, and it doesn't mean that I'm always right. It's just, you know, just life, just the way life is. But I grew up in a very low income family. I guess my dad was a hard worker. My dad did the best he could. My parents wanted my mom to stay home and raise the kids. My dad said he would work 3 jobs to keep my mom home. That was just something that was a top priority. It's like one of their core values of the family was that mom would stay home. And because of that, my dad just didn't have a poshy job where, you know, he took in a lot of money. And growing up, there was a lot of fear. And I think it was from maybe even my own parents' background of both growing up poor, and then the fear of still being poor and, you know, we're going to lose the house, or we won't have enough food, or whatever those things that were discussed in the home left me always feeling that feeling. And I hated that. I hated feeling like we were poor, that it was a bad thing, and it was embarrassing to go to school because you didn't have the latest clothes, or it was embarrassing that you couldn't go on a certain trip, or it was embarrassing that we didn't always go to Disney. And I don't know, I know New Jersey can be, I don't know what other states are like. Both of my sisters have moved out of state and say it's so different in their states than the way it is here. But here it's kind of like, in a lot of circles, I wouldn't say all circles, but in a lot of circles, if you don't do the thing, well, why not? You know, in the little head roll. I've never been one to conform to a trend. If I liked the trend, I joined the trend. But I always kind of was you know, what do they say? You beat to your own, whatever that saying is, you know what I mean. Somebody put it in the comments below. What is that saying? You beat to your own drum or something like that? If I like the color purple and it's not the end color, I really don't care. I'm going to wear purple. And that's how I've always been. And I think that's kind of a survival gene, if you will, I have in my DNA that has gotten me through some of the situations. But we grew up poor, and it was always that fear of, you know, we're not going to have enough or whatever. And when I raised my kids, you know, I married a man that loves the Lord, loves his family, and all the rest. And probably, if he didn't have epilepsy, would have done quite well in the medical field, which is where he had gotten his training. But because of his epilepsy, he had to go on disability, or had to take whatever jobs he could get, because a lot of times he couldn't hold down the job because of his seizures. Well, that just left us with a lot of bills and a lot of uncertainties. And then I was trying to get jobs. Long story short, you don't need to hear my whole story, but we did not have, and still do not have, tons of money. But I didn't want my kids growing up with that feeling. And yet I wanted my kids to be practical and learn how to spend money properly and how to be frugal, because you never know where you're going to be in life. Why am I saying all this? So I read something in this book. This was one of a book that I showed you from a viewer. And it says, never underestimate the value of the little moments. I'll show you that there, in case you want to get a screenshot of that. And I keep reading that. I haven't turned the page. I've read the beginning of the book, and it has some sayings, quotes, and some Bible verses, but I've got this whole rest of the book to read. And I'm stuck on this. Doesn't even have a page number, does it? No page number. But it says, never underestimate the value of the little moments. And the book is Gratitude. This is the book in case you're interested in it. It has just resonated with me so much over the past few days. Let me give you some examples. I was near, in part, not necessarily involved, but kind of near a conversation of some younger people. And the one girl said that she had paid $140 for her sweatshirt, and she's got several of them. But you can't wear that sweatshirt without wearing these particular pants and those shoes. And then they were all talking on TikTok on how, yeah, that went with this, but not with that. And I'm thinking, well, if I like the shoes, I wear them. If I like the pants, I wear them. Like, I don't worry that this shirt doesn't, like, that's beyond my understanding. And then she mentioned she had just gone shopping 2 nights ago with a friend and got this new bag that was $122 and got a few rings at such and such. And I was like, you know, looking at the money that was spent, and then had just DoorDashed a meal that cost maybe $9.99, and I can't even imagine what she had to pay for the DoorDash and the tip and all the rest, when it was just as convenient to get in the car and drive 10 minutes. Now, is there anything wrong with buying yourself a new shirt, top? No, if you have the money, there's nothing wrong with that. But it was the whole mindset that was behind it. The flipping of, I spent $140 on several hoodies, sweatshirts, and it has to be with this certain shoe and a certain brand pants. And, you know, I'm sure they're not cheap. And then, you know, to go and spend money on DoorDash when you could drive 10 minutes down the road. Okay, maybe you're not feeling well. I did that. I remembered a few months ago I was very sick, and we did DoorDash one night because it was just what we needed to do. I get it. There's a time and place. There's a balance in everything you do in life. There should be balance. But it was just that kind of mindset. And I said to my husband, I'm just so different. I think I was an old soul when I was young. And I refuse to get old. I want to stay youthful. I will not be young, but I want to be youthful. And I want to have a fresh, I want to be able to have a fresh perspective and a fresh outlook. And I want to learn every day. I want to be a student of life and learn and understand why people have a different perspective and respect it. Don't always have to agree with it, but I can respect it. But just different things, like I said to my husband, we grew up poor, but I raised my kids that we were smart shoppers. We were never poor in our house. We were smart shoppers. But in doing so, I taught both of my kids to get a good buy. Whether you have $10 and the item costs $1, you could save $9. Well, this one's the same product, but it's $7.50. Well, if it's the same product for $7.50 and this one's $1, the same exact thing, which is the smart way to go? Well, if I buy it at this store, it's got a, you know, ooh. Well, yeah, but you're paying $6.50 more for it when you could have gone to that store. You know, I remember as kids, Kmart was a place that you could shop. You never wanted to admit you wore Kmart sneakers. Like, you would have died first than to say you wore Kmart sneakers. And yet we go to Walmart now and I get my sneakers there, and my husband will get his sneakers there, and I'm like, oh yeah, 20 bucks for a pair of sneakers? Oh yeah. Versus, you know, on the upwards of $100 plus, $160. Now, again, time and place, you need a certain shoe, you like a, whatever. You know what I'm saying. I hope you understand that there is a balance. I'm not saying any of that is wrong. Perspective. I just talked to someone the other day, and I was saying, I'm really in this, like, I tend to go in these little rants within myself of like, you need to straighten this up, or you need to get better with that. And one of the things I'm trying to do is economize in my kitchen. And we have been eating down the stockpile for a number of reasons, and I've shared that on the videos, and I'll be sharing more about that. But literally eating down my pantry. I've had people say, you're the queen of stockpiling. I have done it for years when I had family, and we had anywhere from 5 to 8 people a day in my house between our family, extended family, and other circumstances, every day, 5 to 8 people I was feeding, 3 meals a day plus snacks. Now, it's usually 2 people, sometimes 3 people, and that's it. So you go from 8 to 2, you're going to need a lot less food, and you're not going to use the food up as quickly. So why stockpile 2 cases of something when I'm not even going to get through a case in the next 3 or 4 years? So I've had to reevaluate, be frugal, be a smart shopper, and eat down my stockpile. Now things are just costing money everywhere. So I'm trying to be more frugal, and I'm on this rant right now. I want to do a lot more from scratch. A couple things. One is it saves you money. 2, it's healthier. And I just feel like for me, some of you might relate to this. Some of you might not, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I work full time, and when I come home, I feel disconnected from my home. I feel like I'm not the woman of my home. And I don't like that. I want to feel like I'm giving to my family home something. Homemade something. Homemade this, homemade that. That's important to me. It's a core value in my life that I always said to my husband, even though I worked full time, I never wanted my kids to feel like mom's always at work. And then when I came home, I would change my shirt into some grubby old shirt, and the kids would know, oh, mom's home. And that shirt means mom's going to be cleaning, or mom's going to be baking, or mom's going to be cooking. And for whatever time I could wear that shirt, I did, and I did those things. And I feel like very disconnected from my home over the past several months, and I don't like that feeling. This week was a weird week. I didn't really have a full day off. I had half days off, and I worked a couple hours, and I took some time off. It was just nature of the beast. It was just what needed to be done this week. And the one day I really couldn't disconnect, and I said to my husband, I need to change my clothes. I need to go put on a pair of ratty old jeans and a grubby old shirt and pull my hair up and feel like I was off from work, and not look at my emails from work, and not, and fill in the blanks. And I did that. And I came in the room that we're sitting in, and I dusted. Did it need to be dusted? Not really. It was actually pretty good. But I dusted anyway. And I sorted some paperwork, and I sorted some books, and I, put some new greenery up here, and I did some things over here, and I tweaked my coffee station, and I just went through the whole room and rearranged a few things and gave it a fresh look. And our youngest son came in, and he goes, wow, Mom, this is the best this room has ever looked. And the funny part is I took a table from another room and I put it in here, and I put a different centerpiece in here, and I moved some of the knickknacks around, and I decorated it for free, or redecorated it, or whatever. I used what I had, and it was great. And a little dusting, a good vacuum, made me feel connected to my home. A little tweak here and there gave it a fresh look. And my son came in, and it was interesting because Mom had her day off clothes on, and Mom was cleaning, and Mom was doing some decorating. If you've ever, I grew up with that. I would get so excited when my mom would do some decorating or do certain things. It just felt like it was home. Does that make sense? Does anybody else have memories of just picturing your parents doing things, and when you knew Dad was doing certain things, it just gave you that feeling of home? And I think that's how my son felt. And I've been working a lot of overtime, and I've been going out after work to different events, and haven't really seen my son much. And I said that to him, I'm really sorry I haven't been around. He said, oh, Mom, you're busy, it's okay. And I knew he meant that, but I don't think he realized how much he missed Mom being in the house, and that feeling of home that Mom brings to the home. And even for my husband, I made a home-cooked meal last night, and I served it, and he was like, man, this is the best meal ever. This is a keeper. was it the actual meal, or was it because we happen to have a home-cooked meal with mashed potatoes and carrots, and I did roasted Brussels sprouts, and I made this roast pork that was, oh my goodness, it was really good. But, or was it that feeling of home? And I really want to do more of that. And I think we take for granted how much we can do on a budget. And is it about the sweatshirt that you can get for 140 or the bag for 122, or, you know, all the fancy lattes that you can get? Yes, I love, want to know what my favorite is? A toffee nut latte, hot, grande from Starbucks. Yes, I have it memorized. That, you could get me that every day at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd be a happy girl. Someone just gave me a gift card for Starbucks for $50 and said, thanks for all you do. And Kathy, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I got a gift, and I'm like, I can go to Starbucks and treat myself to a coffee nut latte at 2 o'clock in the afternoon if I want, with no guilt. Do I enjoy that? Yes. But you know what? There's something about sitting on the porch in the evening when it's a little cooler, and my husband and I just making a old-fashioned Maxwell House cup of coffee and sitting on the front porch and listening to the birds, or, you know, the cars go by, or whatever the case might be, and it's a touch of home. So there's 2 other books I wanted to show you. So this is one. It's A Taste of Home, Fall Baking. I've had this forever. So what I decided, I think I got it, I know I got it at a thrift store. I think it was like $2. And I even folded pages back that I, you know, throughout the whole book that I wanted to do. And I've never done anything with it. And I said, you know what? I went through all my cookbooks and I got rid of probably half of them. And I kept a few out, and there's a table right here next to me, and I'm stacking them on there. I said to my husband, one of the things I want to do is, moving forward, is I want to spend 30 minutes a day reading and 30 minutes a day walking or moving. I work at a sit-down job for the most part. I'm up and about a little bit, but most of it's at a desk. And then I drive people everywhere, so I'm sitting in the car. And I just feel like my walking skills, does that sound crazy, are getting really bad. It's like I type so much now, I forget how to handwrite. Does that make sense? I don't know. Are you all like that? I use, you know, conversation on the, you know, verbal on the phone, and I type and I don't handwrite. And I'm like, ooh, how do you make that letter now? And the same with walking skills. I feel like I'm just rusty. Like I need to get out and move. And I do my devotions every day, and I read the Word of God every day. But outside of that, I want 30 minutes a day of reading something instead of on my phone, on social media, yada, yada, yada. So this is one of the books I got, Fall Baking. And there's a banana pecan loaf in here that sounds really good. And there's a honey pecan pie I want to try. And what else? Big buttery chocolate chip cookies and herb dinner rolls. And hurry up biscuits, they're called. Hurry up biscuits. Kind of sounds like a little bit of a baking powder biscuit, and the other one, the 2-ingredient biscuit. But there's all kinds of stuff in here. And Taste of Home. I mean, most of us, you know, we know what that's all about. It's good stuff. And how is that going to help me? Well, reading is free. And so I can read a book for free. I can learn something for free. I can cook something that would make my home more of a home atmosphere and add those smells. And listen, if you're a family of one, do this for yourself. Bake some cookies. And you say, well, it makes too many. Then freeze some. Give some away to a friend. You know, be a good neighbor and share. Something like that. But baking and cooking in your home and the smells and baking from scratch and cooking from scratch. And you might say, well, that's not my thing. Have you tried it? You know, there's plenty you can do that's not complicated. But another one I have is Gifts from the Kitchen. And it actually comes with a CD in the back. And Homestead Tessie told me about it. And I think on here it has like labels and things like that. but it has cinnamon sugar candied almonds. So there's a gift. Gifts from the kitchen. I can make that and pull up the label and then start getting ready for things in the fall. And, you know, Christmas gifts or somebody's birthday or something like that. I don't know. I hope some of this makes sense. I feel like when I talk to you guys, I'm just, you know, it'd be like you and me talking over a cup of coffee at the dining room table. And you know how when you're friends, you start talking about the sale you got at Kohl's, and then next thing you know, you're talking about your spice cabinet, and then you're talking about those pair of shoes, and then the trip you want to go on, and you know, you're all over the map with conversation. And at the end of the night, you just laugh with each other and you say, oh my goodness, we talked about so much. That's what I feel like tonight, that we're talking about so much. I just had so many thoughts in my brain of people are spending so much money on so many things that it's not that you can't spend money, and it's not that if you have the money, you shouldn't spend it. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, like, are we spending the money on the right things? Are we being frugal? You know, I've been through many times in my life where all of a sudden there's a little money, get a little, ooh, let's spend that money. And then the hard times come and I look back and go, I didn't save a dime. And there are times where I can't save money. We're living paycheck to paycheck. Okay, so you do what you can do, but when you do have that little extra, you should be putting some aside. But people are so out there just spending like crazy, or they're not enjoying things at home, like myself. Not that I got caught up in other things. Those other things, just life happens. But it's time for me to take a fresh perspective on what makes my home home. What makes me happy, what makes my kids happy, what makes my husband happy. What creates a home for us? There are things that we would do and you'd probably go, oh, not my thing. That's okay. Find out what your thing is. And like when I raised my kids, is poor bad? Poor is not bad. Poor is just a position in life that you're in. It's not bad. It's what you make of it. It is bad if you're going to sit in it and find pity in it and put yourself down and be embarrassed by it and hide from it. Maybe do things you shouldn't because you're poor. You feel like you have the right to do things. Or you could take that poor and turn it into, okay, I don't have a lot of money this week. I can afford one roast chicken. How can I make that chicken stretch and make 6 meals out of it? What can I do with a roast chicken? I'm going to be a smart shopper and find things at a really good price. I'm going to be a smart shopper and save my pennies until I can afford to get something a little better because I don't want to get the cheaper version of it. I might be poor, but that doesn't mean I can't make something. The other video I did, baking powder biscuits. Let me tell you, the biscuits I made probably made about 8 to 9 of them, big biscuits. I could easily cut that recipe in half and have had half the amount. It's a little flour, it's a little salt, it's a little this, it's a little that. It wasn't a hefty recipe in terms of what you would spend. I have a peppermint in my mouth and I feel like I'm drooling here in front of you. But it cost pennies to make those biscuits and they were delicious. What can you do with those biscuits? Add them to a meal. You know, put peanut butter on them and have them as a snack, or butter and jelly, and they're homemade. They're from scratch. Put them out with a nice pot of tea. You know, you don't have a lot of money. Make some baking powder biscuits. Get grandma's teapot that you have sitting in the cabinet. Get the dust off of it. Make a nice pot of tea. Put water in the teapot. Put orange juice. You don't drink tea. You don't drink coffee. Put any kind of beverage in there and pour it out from the teapot into some teacups or whatever. You know what I mean? Just make a moment out of it. What did that book say? Let me find out real quick. Never underestimate the value of the little moments. You don't need a lot of money to have little moments in life. You don't need a lot of money to do anything in life. You can do a lot of things for free, a lot of things on a frugal level, and come out of it just as happy as the richest person in the world is. Is being poor a bad thing? No, it is not.